Welcome. We're glad you joined us. This is our fourth webinar we've done on various e-commerce topics. Our goal with these webinars is simply to provide you with information to make your e-commerce site more compelling and ultimately more profitable. Oh my goodness, I think you can't see me. Well, I'm going to show a slide in a minute anyway. So today we're talking about product search. I'm going to show you some interesting numbers about impact product search can have on your website. So as you can see, almost a third of e-commerce visitors use internal site search versus just typing in what they want through navigation. Sites can appreciate a 43% increase in conversion when site search is optimized, and 3.5 to 4.5 times customers are more likely to convert when they use site search at least once. As you can see, site search can have a big impact on your website success. But can your site handle these simple things? Will hair dryer show results for blow dryer? In some studies, 61% of top sites that will not deliver the results the user's looking for. Will non-product searches like returns or shipping deliver what the consumer's looking for? 25% of the top sites won't do that. Will symbols and abbreviations be allowed in search? Almost a third of the top sites don't support it. And synonyms like men's gloves would deliver men's mittens. 61% of top sites won't support that type of search. So these are some really simple, easy things that you think your site could be supporting in search, but your consumer will end up at a dead end. So obviously we do not want that. Let me see if I can bring this back up. Here we go. Great. So we hope to provide you today with some ways to improve search for your site. A little bit about our speaker today. Tim, who you should see on the screen, has spent the past 25 years building custom software solutions. Let me just fix this. 15 of which have been in the e-commerce industry. Tim founded a development firm in 2010 and sold it to Liventus in 2017. Joining Liventus at that time, Tim's primary focus continues to be e-commerce development. His customers rely on him to be an expert and a problem solver, helping them unlock business potential by leveraging technology solutions. He has worked with clients in apparel, health foods, jewelry, entertainment equipment, and live theater, and has been implementing websites on the Magento platform since it launched in 2007. They're now owned by Adobe, but also has experience building completely custom websites and WordPress sites. All right, I'm going to kick this webinar off with a few questions that Tim will answer on the topic of search. If you have a question, feel free. All you need to do is just scroll down below the video and you should see a place to enter your question. All right, so we're going to get this going. So my first question for you, Tim, is how do I know if people are using search on my site or if they're using navigation?
All right, thanks. Thanks, Danielle, and thanks everyone for joining us today. So this is going to be a little bit dependent on obviously the technology that your site is based on. If you're using a e-commerce platform, most of them will have some tools built in that will help you identify if people are searching and how they're searching. I'll show you an example. The primary e-commerce platform that we support is Magento Commerce, the Magento 2 platform. And they have a really simple built-in tool. And are you seeing that slide right now?
No.
It looks like I'm sharing it if you're able to get that on screen.
Just give it another shot there. Yep, okay, there it is.
Okay, so this is what the Magento 2 search report looks like. This is available to any administrator who's running a Magento 2 site. But basically, this is a really simple tool to browse through, take a look to see what people are searching for, what kind of results they're getting. Just as a really quick example, for example, this is showing you what search terms were used on the site. This is showing you how many times or how many results are produced when somebody does that search. And this is showing you how many times that search term has been used. And I wanted to bring this up as an example because we'll probably touch on this in a little bit. But you'll notice that in this case, we can see that this particular search term was searched 936 times and produced 0 results every time. And this is a problem. This is something that should be addressed and can be addressed. So we'll talk to that a little bit. If your site doesn't provide built-in search tools like that, there are some other things you can do to determine whether people are actually using your search and probably get some insights on the results. One great tool to use is Google Analytics, and I'm going to just pull up an example of that as well and show you how you can use that. Danielle, if you'd like to bring that up again. Okay, so this is Google Analytics. Almost every website is going to have this integrated. It's going to capture the traffic that's going to your site and give you some insights into how many people are hitting your site and where they're coming from and things like that. But one of the things you can typically do to determine whether those results are using the search versus just browsing your catalog is that most searches on a site are going to send you to a particular URL. So for example, on this particular site that I'm looking at, catalog search / results is the URL when somebody uses the search bar and the results page comes up. So I can do a search for that specific content and get a sense for how many people are using search, how many searches are happening. Now, this is not as useful as the built-in tools because it doesn't necessarily group the results. I can't see exactly how many times particular terms have been searched or if there were 0 results that came up, but I can at least tell how often people are using the search. And I can use the same behavior tools to determine how many people are going to pages of the site through other navigation methods. So this is another method to see if search is being used, at least if you don't have some built-in analytics tools.
Okay, great. That's great to know. There's a lot of data out there you can leverage to learn more about your site. Okay, next question kind of harkens back to the slides I was showing. How can search manage common misspellings or synonyms?
Sure. So again, this will be dependent a little bit on what capabilities your technology set has. But ideally, the search engine that your e-commerce site is using or built allows you to use what is called synonyms. And synonyms are essentially when you have a term that is not exactly matching the content on your site, but close to it. I'll show you some examples of that in a second. The one other thing you want to think about that may help with common misspellings or synonyms is to use predictive search. Predictive search is going to allow your users to start to type a term, and then it will show them some matching content or matching results. And that can be really helpful because if a user's starting to type a term before they get a chance to misspell it, it may give them some better results. Let me show you an example of that. Okay, so predictive results, that you've probably seen this. It happens when you use google.com. It happens when you're on Amazon. But essentially, as you start to type a word, it will kind of auto match. It'll quickly match in real time other terms that may match what you're looking for. So in this case, if somebody was about to type, for example, skincare or skin lotion, that they'll see some matching results. One thing, it might prevent them from misspelling because they can just choose skin lotion out of the results. But another thing it does, it helps them see maybe there were alternate search terms that would have given them more results. So for example, if they were going to search skin lotion, they can see right away that there was 46 hits there. But if they're going to search skin cream, there's 68 hits there, and maybe they weren't particular to lotion necessarily and would rather take a look at cream. So this kind of directs your users a little bit before they have to type the term and then send it into the void and see if any results come back. So predictive search is really useful. But let's talk about synonyms a little bit. And there's a couple types of synonyms. Let me pull up one more screen here and we'll use this as an example. So the most common type of synonym that you'll use are terms that are either slightly misspelled, spelled slightly differently than the term that you actually have in the content on your website, or they are similar So this is a great example. Now, in the Magento 2 Commerce platform, we typically work with a search engine called Elasticsearch. And Elasticsearch is a hosted search solution that is very powerful. It's very configurable. But if you want to set up synonyms in there, you do that by essentially creating a configuration file and putting in the synonym terms. So this was some example syntax that you can use when setting up your synonyms in Elasticsearch. But this just gives you an idea of what kind of synonyms you might see. So for example, if someone's selling electronics on their site and all of their product names and product descriptions use the word iPod with no spacing, with no dashes or anything like that, out of the box, if somebody were to type i-pod or i-pod, they would get 0 results. So by configuring this particular synonym instance on their website, it's basically telling the search engine that if somebody types either of these terms, go ahead and direct it as if it's typing the term iPod. And this particular screen, we won't get into a lot of detail. These are a number of different ways you can configure search results and kind of different settings you can use. But it doesn't even have to be that close and match. Let's say, for example, that you find that users are coming to your site and they are searching sweaters frequently. And maybe your site doesn't even sell sweaters, but you do sell sweatshirts, or you sell clothing, or something that is maybe useful to that customer who's searching for sweaters, but is never going to come up in the exact same search results. So you could use that as a synonym. You could set the synonym to be sweater and then direct that to the search term of sweatshirt. And it may still give people a product that they're actually interested in. So you can really take a lot of control of this. There are some obviously common things that you might be able to guess at before your site's live, or before users start using it, and you can set up those synonyms in advance. But it's also a good idea to pay attention to the results, to what people are searching for, and what kind of what kind of search terms are searching that are not getting any results, and then try to set that up to point to the other things. One other thing I want to mention here that you can use for synonyms is what we would call a symptom search, and the idea there being people may not know what type of product they're looking for, but instead they may be looking for a solution to a particular symptom. So I happen to show you a site that was a healthcare site earlier, and if somebody doesn't know that they're looking for vitamin C, for example, they may just say cold or immunity or something like that, and you can set those up as symptoms or as synonyms, so that when somebody types in immunity, you're giving them the results of things like vitamin C or other products that might help with immunity. And that's when using symptoms, it's really easy to use healthcare as an example, but you can also do that for things like let's say if you sell auto parts on your site, and there is a particular complaint like noise from the engine that someone types in, and you want to show them fan belts because that's a really common issue. So symptom synonyms are a great way to also kind of direct people to the types of products that will be useful for them.
Okay, great. The next question is, what are some easy things I can do to improve my site search? You showed us how to get to some data, so we can kind of see where our problems are, but what can I do? Some simple, quick things I can do to improve site.
Yeah, so we've talked about a couple things. Obviously, implementing predictive search is a great tool. If you don't already have that, it's a good idea. And predictive search that actually shows users both what they could be searching or what they might be trying to search, but also the number of results they'll get. That's very useful. Make sure that you're regularly reviewing the searches that people are doing on your site, and as we discussed, add synonyms or content related to 0 result searches. So I'll touch on that a little bit. I showed you that example, the screenshot where somebody had typed in. Let me actually pull this up again. Danielle, if you can share that. Okay, so you'll notice on this search, this happens to be a jewelry website, and one of the search results that we saw was coming up with 0 results was bracelets. Now, they sell bracelets. It's one of their main product lines. The problem being that in this case, all of the terms that they used on a specific product were bracelet. So their category was bracelet, their product name was bracelet, and they just didn't happen to have the plural of bracelets in any of their search results. So this is a case where they should have set up a synonym, obviously. But here's another example down here where people were trying to search for a particular color or style of jewelry. So with this term indigo, this may not make sense for a very specific synonym. In other words, you may not want to direct somebody that's searching indigo to just look at bracelets, but you may know that, hey, look, there's 865 people tried to do that search. So it's a common term in jewelry. How can I change my content to make sure that they're finding something that might be applicable? So you can start to add the term indigo into some of the content that you're using. And if you know people are searching your site for indigo, that also might mean that they're searching Google for indigo. And that might be a useful search engine optimization to add to your content and make sure that it's more visible in organic searches on Google. But in your search results, if you go ahead and add that content or add that term to some of your applicable search fields, that will be useful. Now that will bring me to one more point, and that is which fields of your product are being searched and how are they weighted. You can really tighten up the search to give people a very specific focus. And you can do that by limiting what fields are searched. So for example, if you look at a typical product, a product that's on an e-commerce site, you're going to have a number of standard attributes. You'll have the product name. You'll usually have, a product code or product SKU or some number representation of that specific item. And then you'll have maybe some other attributes about it. You might have the size, or you might have weight, you might have the color, and almost definitely you're going to have a description. And your description can really vary. It can be very specific to that product, or maybe for SEO purposes, in your description, you're including a lot of details that are more kind of a broader hit around, the whole range of products. For example, we were working with a makeup company, a company that sold makeup. They mostly sold lipstick and eyeshadow and hair coloring and things like that. And it was really common for them to have, for example, a color of lipstick, and let's say the color of lipstick was red, and then they would have in their product description, something about that red lipstick, but then they would also say, this will go fantastic with our, light blue eyeliner. And so if they gave equal weight to all of the attributes, to both the product name and the product description, and somebody searched blue lipstick, they would get one of the top search results would be this red lipstick, because lipstick was, in the name, red and blue and lipstick were all in the product description. And that obviously wasn't what the customer was looking for. And so the way we helped them solve that is that they did want users to still be able to search the terms, search the description, but we put a higher weight on the product name and the category, and then a lower weight on description. So if somebody searched blue lipstick, they were definitely going to see any items that had blue lipstick or blue and were in the category of lipstick, those were going to show up first, and then items that had blue in the description would show up later in the results. So they might still get to it, but it showed them the products you're looking for first. And then you can also completely change that. If your description really isn't helpful from a search perspective, you can take description out of the search term completely. So those are some really good ways to make sure that customers are actually getting what they want, instead of just casting a broad net and getting a huge amount of products on your site. One other really useful thing when you're thinking about search results is not only what results get returned, but also how can the customers use those results. And one of the best ways to do that is to provide filtering options for the customer, so that if they get too many results, they can narrow that down a little bit. And I'll show you an example of that. Daniel, if you can share that screen, please. Okay, so this is an apparel company. They primarily make children's apparel, but they also do make some adult apparel, and lately they've also been making face masks as a primary product. They do have a really nice predictive search, so most likely someone would not end up just typing boys, but let's say that's what the customer did. They just type the word boys. Now, they have a lot of boys items here. You can see just in the first results here, they've got boys clothing, thermal long johns, swimsuits, hats. These are all things that are related to boys. But because most likely when someone's searching boys, they're probably not looking for all those other products, there's some really quick tools that the user can use to narrow that down. For example, over here on the left-hand side, they can just choose one of the categories that showed up in this result. And maybe they meant to search for boys underwear or swimwear or things that are on sale. So there's some really simple category items there. They can also search by color. Okay, I'm looking at boys. What I really was looking for was a green shirt for my boy. So I'll go ahead and choose green as one of the colors in the navigation. And then there are some other filters down below here as well that you would have to scroll to see because they have quite a few. But you can do things like filtering by giving them filters by price or filters by size, which can really narrow down what products are available. So by allowing the users to kind of hone in on the search results that they do get, that can be a really useful tool. And then one last thing that is really going to help improve search on your website is the location of your search box. How easy is it for people to use it? And I think it's always important to call out that this is an important topic, not only in when you're thinking about a traditional desktop website or when somebody's using it at their computer, but it's almost more important to consider it from a mobile perspective. Make sure that users, when they're using their mobile device, can navigate and can search for your products just as easily on a mobile device as they can on a larger screen. And so consider that when you're placing your search options and how people can access your search bar or your search field. You want to make sure that it's really visible. It's easy for them to find. In many cases, the first thing somebody's going to want to do when they go to your site is search. So make sure that they can get to that without having to click several times. On mobile, make sure that's considered in the responsiveness or the mobile friendliness of your site, so that when someone goes down to a mobile screen and you don't have as much real estate. So oftentimes responsiveness will kind of hide things on a screen. They'll push some of your elements down lower, and users do have to scroll to some content, but the search bar should always be right up at the top. If you don't want to take up real estate space of showing a full search bar on a mobile device, you can have just a search icon that's really readily visible and easy to get to, that when it's clicked on, it expands that search screen. So those are a couple, I think, important things to improve your site search, or at least to keep in mind.
Great, thank you. That ends our questions for this webinar. We hope we've given you a lot of, hold on, I'm trying to bring myself up. There I am. We hope we've given you lots of insights on search. You can see some of these fixes are relatively simple. Some require a bit of data and a bit more work, but you can start to chip away at the things in your website and improve search for your consumer and hopefully improve revenue and conversion. So we'll do another one next month on a different topic of e-commerce. If you would like to suggest a topic, feel free to reach out to us. We will also post this webinar on our website and email it to everybody who registered to attend. And we'll also write up an article based on what Tim had mentioned today, because there's a lot of great information. So you can get it in both a video form or a written article form. So anyway, we're going to end this, give you back another 32 minutes of your day, and hope you have a good one, and we will see you next month.